Hello, good morning-ish, kind of. It is 11 a.m. I have been up for way too long. My cat is with us today. Her name is Baby. She's, I think, how old are you? I think she's 16, yeah. But she wants to help today. She's just been by my side all day, so whatever she wants goes. I'll put you down now. Okay. Her little tail. So I have decided as of yesterday that I'm going to start doing a series where I do makeup looks. Today I'm doing Hulk makeup. And you'll kind of see what it looks like and stuff. I'm just gonna talk about the characters or superheroes, the MCU updates, and pop culture, stuff like that, because like that sounds like fun, right? So this is like the first of the series, I guess, and today we're gonna do Hulk, and we're gonna talk about Professor Hulk in the MCU, because it's a topic that I'm low-key passionate about, and I feel like I've never really expressed my opinions on the internet before, which is terrifying in a way, like thinking about having to do that. But that's part of the fun of being a fan of these things, is getting to talk about it with other people and express opinions and stuff like that. And yeah, my comment sections will be open for you guys to talk and express your opinions. I just ask that it stays respectful. Sound good? Yeah. I also think I'm just gonna talk a little bit about Hulk himself. So the inspiration for Hulk actually came from a few different places. There was a story that came out in the news, and it was about a lady who, her baby got stuck like under a car or something, I don't know, but she had to like lift the car to save her baby. And Jack saw that and he was like, yo, that's kind of cool that like we're capable as human beings to like be able to do that. Like, you don't have to like have superhuman powers. And he was inspired by that. Also, Stan Lee, I think this is super interesting. Stan Lee was actually tired of creating superheroes. Crazy, I know. But he was like, I kind of just want to, make like a monster, do something like different. And he did it. And the first Hulk series like really flopped, but then he started getting like, Hulk started appearing in like later comics with like other characters and stuff like that, and he grew on the community, and more people started getting intrigued by his story and his character and stuff like that. I look insane right now. And something else that's super intriguing to me is that they actually based it off of Frankenstein, which is, I just think that's super freaking cool. Because you can like go back and watch like the older shows and stuff like that, and you kind of look at it and you're like, wow, this really does give off like Frankenstein vibes. So in the MCU, I feel like most of the people watching this like obviously like probably have seen the MCU movies. We obviously know that Banner was trying to recreate the super soldier serum that got injected into Cap and stuff like that, and ended up getting exposed to the gamma radiation and becoming Hulk, or part of him becoming Hulk. I don't know why that turned blue. But in the comics, he actually worked at like a power plant or something like that. And there was a teenager that was like messing around over there and messing things up. And then Banner was like, that's not good. And like pushed him out of the way to like save him and stuff. But then Banner was the one that got exposed to the gamma radiation. And that's how Hulk arrived. That's how Hulk was created. Also, something else that like comes into play in the MCU that is actually from the comics is Sakaar in Thor Ragnarok, because green paint is not fun to work with, I've decided. The reason that Hulk ended up on Sakaar in the comics was because there was a group of people, it was like Iron Man and Doctor Strange and a few other people, and they were like, we need to, like, Hulk is dangerous and literally like a nuke just waiting to explode, and we need to get him off of Earth. And so they tried to launch into a planet to isolate him, but instead he ended up on Sakaar, which is the planet that we see in Thor Ragnarok. And in the comics, he actually becomes the king of Sakaar, falls in love and impregnates like an alien girl that I don't know the name of, to be completely honest with you. Long story short, everybody ends up dying on Sakaar, and he gets super angry and goes back to Earth and goes after all the people that he wants to blame for it. He actually defeats everyone, like Iron Man and everybody except for Thor and Cap, which at the time were not around. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure. which kind of like goes to show that he kind of like is the strongest Avenger, almost. He does fight Thor a lot in the comics though. He does, and neither one of them ever win. It's always like a tie, a draw. Which is why it's like an ongoing joke in the MCU of like who's the strongest Avenger. Also, something super cool about Hulk in the comics, which actually might be true in the MCU, we don't really know yet, is that he can breathe underwater. Something about the gamma radiation like made it so that he can breathe underwater. I just think that's freaking awesome. Okay, we're gonna start getting into Professor Hulk. I'm gonna start talking and you're gonna be like, what does this have to do with any of Professor Hulk? But it all ties together at the end, I promise. But it's gonna take a little while to explain, so we're gonna really just bear with me. When the first issues of the Hulk came out, he was actually intended to be gray. He was intended to be gray, but then they had like printing issues or something and he ended up being green, and they were like, whatever, we'll just go with green. And they didn't really like touch on any of that. They were like, yeah, whatever. And then later on they were like, well, what if we make Gray Hulk different from the Green Hulk? Like, what if we make them two like different characters? And so they did do that. And the route that they took with that was basically saying like, oh, he has multiple personality disorder, which is actually a super cool angle to take because Bruce has so much like childhood trauma that the MCU hasn't even touched on. And I'm really hoping that like at some point they do, just because it's so like unique and I think really cool and really pivotal to like developing his character. And like, don't get me wrong, I understand that like Marvel, or I guess Disney, is trying to do something different with the characters that we've already seen on screen. Like with Spider-Man, we didn't get the Uncle Ben origin story, which I have mixed emotions about, because I think that's one of his most important like aspects of his character. That literally is like the entire reason that Peter Parker is Peter Parker. But I digress. I understand why they've done what they've done. Then, you know, at the end of the day, I'm happy with what we've been blessed with in the MCU. I really am. So anyways, we have the Gray Hulk and we have the Green Hulk and Bruce Banner. We have these three characters that are kind of like all part of the same character. And Bruce had a rough childhood because his father was very abusive towards him and his mother, to the point where his father actually ended up killing his mother once his mom decided like, I'm not going to put up with this anymore, me and Bruce are leaving you. And the dad got angry and bashed her head against a sidewalk or against pavement and killed her. And it's actually super cool because if you look at the comics, Bruce, when he goes back to this time, when he goes back and relives this moment, he envisions his dad as a monster, and it's a terrifying looking monster. And it's just cool to kind of see like the symbolism, I guess, because like once he realizes like, this wasn't a monster that killed my mother, it was my own father, but like he looks at his father as a monster. It's really cool. But yeah, so you have these three different entities basically, and at one point Gray Hulk and Green Hulk actually try to fight each other before they realize that like they can't, and so they go to therapy. And after Banner has all of these realizations about his past and his father and his mother and everything, they all end up merging and creating like a fourth Hulk, which is Professor Hulk, which is what we see in the MCU during Endgame. So yeah, Professor Hulk was created, which is obviously what we see in the MCU, just without literally the entire backstory that is a part of it. Something that I think is super interesting though, and like obviously like we saw this happen in the MCU, was Professor Hulk is actually, like, you would expect that because Banner finally got everything figured out and they all became one unified piece, you'd think that it'd be the strongest version of the Hulk, but it's actually, I I would say one of the weakest, if not the weakest, because Hulk's powers come from his anger. And whenever you combine that power with Bruce Banner's mind that is literally like, hey, maybe you shouldn't do that, like the voice of reason, you don't have Hulk, you know? You don't get the anger, so you don't get the powers. And whenever, you know, obviously, like, he still got angry every now and then, but whenever he got super angry, instead of going into the Hulk, he would actually revert back to Bruce, which I think is super interesting. And I think that might be something that we see later on in the MCU if they bring Hulk back. I hope they bring him back. My leg is falling asleep. For the lipstick, I don't have purple, so I'm just gonna like put some gloss on and then put some, like, pat some eyeshadow on it. I don't know, I hope it works. I think that's about as good as we're gonna get, but yeah, this is the finished makeup look, and that was my knowledge dump of Hulk. So I don't know, I hope you guys liked this kind of video. If you guys have, I think I'm gonna do Wanda tomorrow, but I'm not really sure. We'll see. That'll be a complicated one, a really intense one, especially after WandaVision came out. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'm gonna go record some TikTok videos now, so I'm not super happy with how it came out, but I'm doing my best. Okay, thank you guys for watching. Have a good night or morning or day wherever you are. I love you so much. Bye.